Good morning, everyone. So, today we are going to start with a new chapter called as functions. So, before I get into the concepts of functions, we need to have a look back, like what we were doing earlier with the programming aspects. So, we started our programs using the concept of first learning the structure of C program, and we saw the basic structure because every C program, whatever you write, they have to have a pattern. You need to follow that pattern. And slowly we went on to see basic units of C programming, like C tokens. And we saw input output statements. Then we have a look into the conditional statements and looping statements too. And now we are in a stage where we need to take these concepts beyond to another level. So, what is a function and why do we require the functions? That's what we are going to see in this particular module, functions. So, before I get into the functions, let us uh, just recall the basic programs what we were doing. So we used to write a program to do some predefined task. And to do this task, we need to write some statements. So that statements might be a conditional statements or a looping statement or an input output statement or a mathematical expression. So all these statements were grouped inside a function called as main. As we all know, we say the main as an important function because the program execution starts from main functions. So the set of tasks or set of statements what we need to perform in a program were grouped under one function called as main function. Okay. So is it a function and a main functions are different or they are same? So main is a function, but all functions are not only main. So there might be many functions apart from main also in the program. So coming to the concept, so we will have to differentiate between what is a program and what is a function. So as we all know, the function is defined as a set of statements which performs some predefined task. Then what exactly is a function? So coming back to that concept, so look at this. We have to define what are functions in C. So a function is nothing but a block of statement that a specific performs a specific task. So a function definition says that it is a block of statement that performs a specific task. Then what is a program? A program is also a block of statements that performs a specific task. So you might be little confusing now. So ambiguity arises here because both the definitions are one and the same. A program is also a block of statement which performs a specific task, whereas a function is also a block of statement that performs a specific task. Then are they are same is the one thing what arises in the minds of everyone who are having a look at it. So are they are same? This is a this is what we need to resolve first before moving into the further concepts of the functions. Are they are same or different? So now we are exactly going to see what is a program and what is a function. So have a look into the definition of a program carefully. A program is an executable piece of code that can execute independently, and a program must and should contain a main function. Must and should contain a main function, and it has it can have some other user defined functions too. It can have, but it must have compulsorily a main function. A program is an executable code. What you need to remember is a program does some predefined task, and it is an executable code which can execute independently without the aid of anything. And it should must and should contain a main function and can have some other user defined function. This is what is a program. But a function is a part of the program. It itself is not a program. It is a part of the program which can perform either a single task or more tasks. But keep in your mind, a function does not execute independently. Somebody should call a function if it has to get executed. Whereas a program doesn't require the help of any other component. It can work independently. It can execute without the help of any other component. That means if you write a program, for example, if you write a C program, we name it as .c, and when we pass this C program to a compiler, compiler looks at whether the program contains a function, which function, main function, because its execution should begin with the main function. So if your program or if your file contains main function, it treats that as your program and it start executing. Whereas when it comes to a function is just a part of your program. It itself is not a program. It is just a part of your program which will perform either one task or two tasks or more than one task. But if it has to get executed, it should be called from the main function, or it can be called from some other function. We will be looking at those concepts clearly. So what I can say is a function is a subset of a program. Okay, that means a program will include some functions. Okay, so basically the one function which will be always be there in your program is your main function. Without main function you can't write any program in C. Okay, and along with this main program you will also have some other functions. Okay, so that is what is a program is. So program has a capability to execute by themselves. Okay, once you save your program as .c and compile it, your program start compiling, and if there is no error, it executes your program. But whereas a function has not having a capability to run on itself, because a function, if you have written, it should be called somewhere to get executed. So we'll see that in detail in the next class. I hope so you would have understood the basic difference between a program and a function. Okay, so let us just move into the next concept. So now let me show you a program which does some task. For example, we are taking a basic simple mathematical concepts here, where if I am want to write a program which performs addition, multiplication and subtraction. So we have taken how many operations? Three operations. A program which read two numbers and find sum of two numbers, product of two numbers and difference of two numbers. So if you can see the left part of the program, you can see that it is a program, and if you see the right of it, you can see the output of that particular program. So coming back to this program, keep in your mind, we are going to consider this program without any functions. So without any functions in the sense, we are not going to create any additional functions. We'll be having only one function, that is nothing but your main function. Okay, so as I said, the aim of the program is to write a program to find sum of the numbers, two numbers, product of the two numbers and difference of two numbers. So as we all know, when we want to write a program, we need to first understand the program here. The program is to find the basic arithmetical operations performed on two operands or two inputs. So we need to take two input variables, that is a comma b, which is going to hold your input, and there is another variable called as output, which gives you the result. So first, as usual, you ask the user to enter the two numbers, and you need a scanf statement to read those inputs, as we are reading two variables and storing those values in a and b. We use two format specifiers. So the format specifiers tells what type of a data does your a comma b can hold. Okay, so since a comma b is an integer, you say that the format in which you need to enter the input should be in integer format, and those values what you enter as an input will be saved in variable a and variable b. So coming back to this output, so it asks first this statement, enter two numbers, and if suppose if you enter a as 20 and b as 10, then it performs an addition, that is a plus b, and the resultant of a plus b is stored in a variable called as output variable. So now we tell the user, after the adding these two numbers, the output of this particular operation, what is the output right now? 20 plus 10, that is nothing but 30. So after adding two numbers, the result is 30. So we have performed the first operation, that is addition of two numbers. But that was not only the operation what this program has to deal with. Now it has to find out the product of two numbers. Already we have found taken the inputs in a and b. Now we need to perform the relevant operation required to find product of two numbers. So what is the relevant operation? You have to use an operator called as multiplication operator. So here it performs multiplication and save the output again in the variable called as output. So if you can see that earlier the output was having the addition of two numbers. Now it has been changed to the product of two numbers. So that means this output variable is overwritten. That means earlier it had the value called as 30. Now after performing a into b, it has been overwritten into 20 into 10. What is 20 into 10? That is 200. Keep in your mind, the same variable is overwritten here. How is it possible? It is possible because we all know that C program works in a sequential manner. That means this was the first statement, so it performed 20 plus 10. Then after the statement, then comes the next statement which overrides the same output variable. So it is happening sequentially from top to bottom. So keep in your mind, it is not creating another output variable, it is just overwriting the same variable. So earlier it was 30, now after finding out the product, now it has been changed to 200. So we got the product of two numbers. Now, is it the only the task what this program has to do? This has to perform another task, and that task is finding out the difference of two numbers. So coming back to the operation to find out the difference, we need to use an operator called as minus, which performs a difference of two numbers. So a minus b again been saved to the same variable called as output. So again, now the output variable is been overwritten. Now the output variable we're having the content as 200. Now it has to override that number. So what is a minus b? It is nothing but 20 minus 10. So the content has been overwritten. So after subtracting two numbers, the result is 10. Okay. So if you can see that now it has performed how many operations? It performed three operations in this particular program, that is addition, subtraction, and multiplication. And if you clearly look into this program, I haven't used any functions here, but I have used one function which we say as an entry point of the program. That is nothing but we have used one function called as main, and you can see all the set of statements what this program has been performed are included inside the main program. So what happens when you write this program, and what happens when you compile this program? The compiler looks for some errors. If you don't have any syntax error or logical error, the compiler gives you the desired output. So going back to the definition of a program, keep in your mind a program is an executable piece of code that executes independently. When I say independently, it doesn't require the help of any additional component, and it should must and should contain main function. So going to this particular program, you can see that this program has a main function, and apart from this main function, this program doesn't have any other functions. It has only main function. So that says that this is just a program with one main function, because main function is bound to be there since it is an entry point of the program. So we have written a program now, not a function. Okay. So now let us just look into this program and identify what kind of problems or what kind of issues do we have with this particular program what we have written. So if you can see this particular program, the line which has been marked in red color, or the line which has been highlighted in red color, look at those highlighted red color statements. There are how many statements? There are altogether 3 statements. And when we clearly have a look into it, those 3 statements are one and the same, even though they are same, but we have written it thrice. Okay. So that means what exactly that statement is doing? That statement is printing your output after performing the operations. Now, don't you think that there is duplication? Duplication in the sense same line is being repeated again and again. Okay. If can we avoid this? Yes. If we avoid this, then that will be reducing the redundancy or duplication what is happening in the program. So your functions resolve that. Your functions will give you a solution for duplication. And next, that is one part. Next, if you see into this particular program, your main function contains some set of statements to do some task. Here in this particular program, we are doing 3 tasks, that is addition, multiplication, and subtraction. So now, if in case, if I have a problem with respect to multiplication, imagine that I have forgot to write a semicolon in this particular statement. Right now I've written it. Okay. But if in case I have written a problem where I haven't ended the semicolon, okay, or instead of multiplication operator I have used division operator, so will it perform multiplication? No, generally it will not perform multiplication, because you have used another operator, that is a division operator, which performs division operation. So when this program has been executed with a division operator, what obviously happens is you will end up in getting a wrong answer, where after multiplying two numbers, if you have used instead of multiplication operator divide symbol, if in case if you have used, okay, so what it does is it does 20 by 10, that is nothing but 2. Your answer is 2, but the statement what you are looking is multiplication of two numbers, but the operation what you have performed is uh, division operator. So obviously you will get in a result which is error, which is not a correct answer. So now what you need to do once you get this kind of an error, so what you do basically do is you need to correct those errors. So when you want to correct these errors, what you do is you just look into this main function, the entire main function, and see the line which does that particular, where that particular error is occurring, or where that particular statement which is giving you a wrong answer. So what you need to do is you need to trace your program and find out that line where that error is happening. So here you find out that and you correct that error. You change that division symbol into multiplication symbol. So now in this case, the amount of time what you have invested to find out that line is too much. Actually, it won't give you a syntax error or logical error. If it would have been a syntax error, then the compiler would have shown you that particular line. Here the syntax is correct, but the only the thing is your operator what you have mentioned, instead of multiplication operator you might have mentioned another operator like division operator, that gave you a wrong answer. So just imagine, since this program is just 10 lines of program, now imagine if your program is of 1,000 lines and you need to find out the line which is giving you a wrong answer. So what basically happens is you invest a lot of time to go through all your main function, because all the task what you're performing is put inside one function called as main function. So usually the readability of the program is not that easy when you write everything inside one main function. And here comes the help of functions. So functions, if you write an additional function that will resolve this issue, I mean that you know that this particular program performs how many tasks? 3 tasks: addition, multiplication, and subtraction. So if in case we can separate these tasks into an separate functions, that means if I have to perform addition, I write separate function. If I have multiplication, I write multiplication separately. And if I have a difference of two numbers, I write a separate function for that. That means instead of writing everything in a main function, we write individually this function separately. So that is what we are going to see next. Okay. So problems with this particular program is that few lines gets repeated unnecessarily. Even though it's the same line, we are repeated that unnecessarily. And the second thing is, if any error occurs, it's not that easy to look into those error, because we need to see entire main function to correct that wrong error, that is correct that wrong answer. Okay, so all these things can be resolved using the concepts of function. So what we are going to see next is how the same program can be written using the concepts of functions. So as I said, what we are going to do next is we are not going to put everything inside the main function. That means addition, subtraction, and multiplication will be a separate component. They won't be a component of main. They will be a separate component. But as you all know that if something should get executed, it should be a part of main. So we'll see how we make this function a part of main. So let us just go into the next